Alright, Shalom.
Shalom.
Brakatah Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Brakatah Yahweh Shai.
Brakata Yahushai.
Brakatah Yahweh.
Brakata Yahweh.
Brakatah Yahweh Shai.
Brakata Yahushai.
Double honors to the elders and apostles, better known as the Great Millstone. Shalom. Salutations to the elect, to the 1/3, and to the 144,000. Death to 2/3 and all the wicked.
That's right.
What is this? January the 3rd. A lot of things have been taking place in the past week, 2 weeks. And with the so-called New Year in place, which is it's really not a new year. That's a whole nother topic. Because we're still in winter. We're still in the 4th season of the year. So when spring comes, it would actually be a new year.
That's right.
But we're in the book of Obadiah. It deals a lot with America and what's going on now. What's going to happen to the main kingdom of Edom, but also what's going to happen to the white power structure and the rulership of Caucasians, which are known as Edomites from the house of Esau. And that's the way the Most High set it up.
Yeah.
So you have Caucasians that are consider themselves different, but they're all the same. A Caucasian is a Caucasian. A Caucasian can even look like a so-called black man. They can look like a so-called Mexican. They can look like a so-called Chinese person because people have mingled so much with other nations. And for Edom, he's done it to hide himself.
That's right.
Okay, so what we're going to start with here is in Obadiah 1:7. Do you have it pulled up? No? It's okay, I'll read it. Obadiah 1:7. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. And this is relevant because there is an article that someone helped find, or they put out, showing that America basically it has no more allies. It's moved all its allies out of the way. America's pissed off all its allies with its foreign trade, and really what it's done to Iran most recently. And that's just the pride of Edom, the pride of the so-called white man. All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. That means everyone that was at peace with you, they've deceived you. You have no friends anymore, and you really haven't for a long time. But hopefully, this is that straw that broke the camel's back. Okay, so they to bring someone to the border in the ancient world meant that you were at their borders with their army. With your army, you approach their borders, which is a sign of an act of war.
Yep.
So that's what's going on. You have a lot of nations that are ready, and it just recently, who was it? You had 3 nations come together for a naval war drill. I want to say it was Iran.
Iran, China, and Russia.
There you go.
In the Strait of Hormuz area.
Yeah, you see. So you have these things going on, and Edom is trying to play the victim. Which the so-called white man and yeah, the Jewish people, they always there's that old Polish saying, the Jew screams out as he hits you, like he's the one who's hurt. So he's hitting you, he's destroying you, but he's screaming bloody murder like you're attacking him. Why would he do this? Because he wants people to feel sorry for him. Like, what the hell? Like, that's a weird attribute. Do you have something?
I mean, it's the same as when he sold his birthright.
Yeah.
Right? He sold it himself, but then he wanted to wail out and cry for his own blessing. That is the spirit of the so-called white man. Dealing with the border and the other nations. This is Nahum 3:5. Behold, I am against thee, saith Yahweh of hosts, and I will discover thy skirt upon thy face, and will show the nations thy nakedness, and the kingdoms thy shame.
Yep. So everything's being revealed. Or you can't hide anything anymore. That America's not the bad guy. That America's not doing this or not doing that. They abide by no rules of the UN, of NATO. Any treaty that they sign, they'll speak of peace, but then they come and they stab you up.
Gotcha. You want it? Mm-hmm. Ecclesiastes 12 and 11. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that the rust hath not been altogether wiped away.
Right. So, when you wipe away the rust on any object of metal, you're trying to get rid of it, right? Because it's a unwanted material.
Cankerous.
But when you notice with the so-called white man, you think you buried something, you think everything's cool, and here it is, just like rust. It comes back up, and it's there. It's an undesirable thing, but that's how he lives. You know, the scripture also talks about his words and his lips were smoother than butter, softer than oil.
That's actually the one I was looking for.
Yet war was in his heart. Okay, war is in his mind. Like in the grand scheme of things, he his blessing is war, is the sword. His blessing is the sword, which is war, man. You use the sword for war. You don't use it for feeding people. Go ahead.
You got knives for that.
Right.
Psalms 55 and 21. Though the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war is in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords.
Yeah, yet were they drawn swords. You see. So you had a Trump do his addressment for New Year's, so called, and he's dressed up, and he looks like he's coming from a funeral type of thing or something, black and white. But he's still, he speaks real proud, and he's very sure of himself. And he's really the face and the voice of a lot of Caucasians or so-called white people that are afraid to admit it in public. He's really the embodiment and the spirit of Edom. He's the perfect candidate to man. Matter of fact, there was even an article that said he could call for martial law and suspend elections and stay in office. Even if they were to impeach him, really it doesn't matter who they have in the office, but it's better to have one single fall guy for the entire blame rather than a whole group, because that shows irresponsibility on the behalf of a company. So like with Boeing, they got rid of their main president because of all the plane failures and stuff, and so rather than Boeing as a company taking the hit as making inferior products and releasing inferior planes, they have a fall guy. The president of Boeing, resigned effective immediately, and all this stuff. And so that's what America is. America's a corporation. It's a company, and it's better to fire the president rather than the entire company gets scrapped. So, you peons, all you workers who support the company, are going to stay with the company because you're going to agree to blame the president rather than the company you work for.
Definition of the word scapegoat. Mm-hmm. A person who is blamed for the wrongdoings, mistakes, or faults of others, especially for a reason of expedience.
See? For a reason of expedience. So it's expedient for even the villain America to have a villain within itself. And, if you notice, if you ever talk to so-called white people, they love gray areas. They don't like yes and no, black and white.
Well,
they love the gray areas of things. Even and you see that in sports like college football. They make a lot of money, and they don't pay their players, and then they're under contracts to where all this gear and merchandise that they're getting, they can't sell it, even though it's worth hundreds of thousands. And they're living, their parents are homeless, or sleeping on someone else's couch, and all this poverty is around them, and they can't do anything with the stuff that they've been given a gift for, and they're just hoping and praying that they can get on on a team somewhere
Yep.
to make a little bit of money. It's corrupt, but who's getting all the money? The coaches. They're getting $1-2 million salaries and raises constantly.
School.
Right. The school's getting all that money. So what are they developing and teaching? What are they really showing to people, man?
Right.
It's no wonder that everyone hates America when America creates itself to be the villain, tries to paint itself as the victim. But look, everything is being lifted up, as the scripture says. Her nakedness is being revealed. Okay. Do you have anything else?
Just real quick, an article from RT called "De facto State of War." De Blasio is the New York mayor, I believe. Make sure of that. Yep, mayor. Warns New Yorkers of the new reality in the wake of killing of Iran's Soleimani.
Yeah, which that was a general, right?
Yeah, he's the second in command to Iran, which Tehran is their head. He was their second in command.
Yeah. So what would happen if someone killed what's his name, Mike Pence?
Exactly. From another country publicly.
Right.
And stated, "This is our enemy. He is a bad person. He's the boogeyman. We killed him."
Right.
It'd be on and cracking.
Right. A lot of you so-called Americans, you wouldn't stand for that, right?
Right.
But this is that's the hypocrisy. That's first and foremost. That's the hypocrisy of America, man. And Obadiah is pertaining to this time and to you Edomites. Edom has not been done away with, man.
That's right.
And this is why the scriptures I have showing and pulled up here is showing you that look in verse 21 it says, "And saviors shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's." Are we in the kingdom of heaven? Is the kingdom right? Is the kingdom the Lord's right now? What is the kingdom? The scriptures tell you the kingdom of heaven is in you, right? And then the Lord himself, Yahweh Shai, said that the kingdom of heaven suffereth violence to this very day. Now, we haven't been delivered yet. Okay, so Mount Zion isn't full of saviors, ordained group of Israelites. Okay, that are spearheading reality and leading righteousness. That hasn't happened yet. The Mount of Esau hasn't been judged yet. The kingdom of Edom hasn't been judged yet.
That's right.
They've been scapegoating this whole time. And the world itself hasn't been judged yet, because that goes hand in hand, as the scriptures show you. And Obadiah perfectly understood that these nations haven't been judged either, man. Okay? That's why in verse 15 it says, "For the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen." Has the world been judged yet? Dealing with Jacob and Esau and the nations existing with them, have these nations been judged yet? No.
Nope.
It shall be done unto thee. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thy own head. So as you other nations have done unto us, okay, treated us and allowed America, our older brother Edom, Esau, the so-called white man, you've allowed him, to mistreat us. Which is odd, because if you see that happening in public, the so-called white man, he always steps in to save everybody, right? But who's doing that on our behalf? And the scriptures talk about that. Who asks how you're doing? Who's going by the wayside and ask, how are you doing? No one's looking out for us.
No man shall buy thee.
Right, no man shall buy it, as the curses say in Deuteronomy 28, that no man shall buy us, no man shall redeem us.
That's right.
No one is going to save us, man. Okay, so you people are supposed to mock us, ridicule us, and keep us in the dirt, so to speak. Go ahead.
Just real quick with this article. After the strike on Baghdad airport, we are dealing with a different reality, De Blasio told the press conference on Friday, admitting that none of us know how this will play out. as it has been decades since the U.S. confronted the reality of a war with the government of a large country with an international terror network at its behest. Previous terror attacks on New York, he pointed out, come from non state actors without Iran's resources. Job 27:14, if his children be multiplied, it is for the sword, and his offspring shall not be satisfied with bread.
Yep. So that's the so-called white man. All of your children, okay, it says if you be multiplied, if your children be multiplied, it is for the sword. Meaning you're going to war. You're going to go fight and die. And that's one of the fears that people in the world say is a parent burying its child. A lot of the slaves in the kingdom of heaven are going to be older in age. You know, you're gonna have to bear children in slavery. Those of you that and those of you that are young that make it in there, you're gonna have to bear children. You know,
as we did.
Yep, as we did. We're gonna separate you. You know, because that was one thing. One article is called, New Year's Day, January 1st, a slave's worst nightmare. You know, that a lot of trading and families got broken up first of the year. Start trading, quick.
It was back to business.
Yeah, it was back to business. So here it was, you were celebrating Christmas with these idiots. You as an idiot celebrating Christmas with your master, and then boom, here comes that New Year, so called. Families are getting broken up, man.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be constantly shifted and moved around. But yeah, that's just a small taste of what's been going on, man. Yeah. And it's gonna continue. And for all those that don't believe, and you have your, naysaying, gainsaying, that's fine, man. We don't care if you believe or not. Right. At the end of the day, you won't be able to say we didn't know, and our job is done.
Yeah. So. The men of the Lord are out there telling these to come prophecies. So and it's worldwide, right? YouTube is probably one of the world's biggest platforms, and every brother worldwide, does 3 videos a week to the best of their ability, worldwide, from just one group of the nation of Israel that's going out and proclaiming the truth. That alone,
it's a lot of videos, and then the people that are watching the YouTube videos that have to watch these videos, like, how much more of it can they take? How much more of it can they take, man? Someone has to monitor the videos now for the new policies. How much more of this can you take hearing, and then you go home to your family, to your loved ones, right? You're seeing us bring up the articles mentioning the same things you see on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on CNN, on Al Jazeera, on Russia Today, right? How do you live with yourself, man? That's some mentally mind-boggling shit that should be fucking with you. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have a majority of people in the world that don't believe. We understand that. We're not here to force or make people believe.
We don't care.
Right. Yeah, we're working out our own salvation with fear and trembling. So yeah, that's just the beauty of the terror of the Lord, man. That's the beautiful part of the animosity and the terror of the Lord.
That's right.
Yahweh, the name of the Father, and the name of His Son, Yahweh Shai. See, all that God and Jesus shit didn't get nowhere, man. All that God and Jesus bullshit backfired. Yeah. And the true spirit of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai has revealed itself. The names are manifest. So that's why we're seeing all this come to pass, man. Anyway, with that, we'll wrap it up. Shalom to the elect, death to the 2/3 and all the wicked.